Just like Superman defeated Dr. Manhattan without using raw power in Doomsday Clock, David Corenswet's version should exhibit similar qualities. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Following the release of James Gunn's Superman trailer, fans have become obsessed with how David Corenswet's titular character is set to be a comic-accurate version. Unlike the gritty portrayal of Henry Cavill's Man of Steel, DC fans are losing their minds over Corenswet's righteous and mighty superhero. So much so that fans even express their desire to see the likeness of Superman from Doomsday Clock in Corenswet's version. Given how Superman defeated Dr. Manhattan in the events of Doomsday Clock with his kindness and humility rather than using his powers, DC fans are hoping for James Gunn's Superman to feature similar qualities in David Corenswet's version. Hoping for Kal-El to once again return to his era of kindness and principle over sheer physical power, fans want Corenswet's Superman to exhibit similar characteristics. After the events of the original Watchmen comic via fandom, wherein Dr. John Osterman aka Dr. Manhattan traveled to the metaverse and reordered the timeline which ruined countless lives, there came the events of Doomsday Clock. Serving as a sequel to the Watchmen comic, the events mentioned in the final issue of Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, and Brad Anderson series followed the incidents that took place after Dr. Manhattan altered the reality of the Prime DC timeline. In the comic, Dr. Manhattan was said to have become fascinated with the structure of the DC reality and became obsessed with Superman, whom he believed to be the center of that universe. Thereafter, as he began experimenting with this reality, he altered its history, which led him to be haunted by his final confrontation with Superman, who would eventually come to save his people, resulting in nothingness, which perhaps symbolized Dr. Manhattan's death via IGN. But in a shocking twist of event that no DC fan had ever imagined, the final confrontation between Superman and Dr. Manhattan in Doomsday Clock ended up being a reminder of Kal-El's real powers, his kindness, principles, humility, and hope. Therefore, during the fight, instead of using his raw power to defeat Dr. Manhattan, Superman tried saving the physicist. This act, although confused Dr. Manhattan, also inspired him to realize the true meaning of the nothingness he foresaw. Superman's act of kindness eventually led Dr. Manhattan to realize his purpose, undo the timeline changes, and then return to his original Watchmen reality. There, he erased all nukes and even helped create a gay rights crusader. Further, to complete his plan, he reconsidered his earlier vision of the future, awaiting the child of Mime and Marionette, whom he named Clark after Superman. Dr. Manhattan passed on a few lessons to the child like Superman did for him, and eventually sent him to be raised by Night Owl and Silk Spectre in a happy family. Meanwhile, considering how Superman defeated Dr. Manhattan in Doomsday Clock without even using any of his raw powers, DC fans are hoping for James Gunn to inculcate some of these qualities in his Superman movie. Overall, given how David Corenswet is set to bring back the kind and righteous Kal-El, instead of the Man of Steel previously portrayed by Henry Cavill, fans are hopeful that these qualities will come alive on screen. Further, given how James Gunn's Superman trailer promised that David Corenswet's character would be majorly based on Grant Morrison's legendary All-Star Superman comic, fans got excited for the bright and bumbling version of Clark. There seems to be the possibility of the new era Superman exhibiting a similar level of hope and kindness that the character previously portrayed in the Doomsday Clock comic.
Despite being one of the most popular superheroes of all time, James Gunn's Superman could have some difficulty raking in the big bucks. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. James Gunn is all set to tackle the big leagues with the upcoming DCU film Superman, which will kickstart the revamped franchise on the big screen. The latest teaser trailer showed the first glimpse of Gunn's vision of hope and kindness for Kal-El, miles away from Zack Snyder's dark and gritty exploration of absolute power. While the teaser proved that Gunn's vision was to bring back the hopeful nature of the character and many fans seem to be on board with this intention, will it be enough to bring in the big bucks? I don't think so. The big billion might still be a long shot for the freshman effort of the DCU, unless Gunn's storytelling really hits it out of the park. We are in an age where superhero films might just be at their saturation point, but they are the ones being made. From traditional superheroes like Spider-Man and Wolverine to more secondary and tertiary characters like Aquaman, Blue Beetle, and Echo, all of them are being explored, with the MCU especially churning out new content every year. Apart from the two giants in the comic book realm, many other alt comics have also turned into big IPs such as The Boys and Invincible. Though films like Blade and Hellboy had a fanbase before, the adaptations mentioned above subvert not just their source material, but also the film and TV adaptations of the mainstream comics. The Boys especially has managed to comment on the status superheroes hold in society, specifically America, and how they would influence everything from military spending to elections if they were treated as celebrities in the world they existed in. In the age of Homelander, would Superman still be relevant? Superman is the first superhero and is the perfect example of the American hero everyone aspires to be. He is a good man who chooses humanity over everything and safeguards American society's interests despite all odds. He is overpowered with little weaknesses, and his red and blue suit screams USA. However, times have changed, and there have been far grayer and bizarro alternates to Superman in popular media. James Gunn's Superman may try to bring back some good OL heroism back into the fold, but would that really work in today's times? Comic book writer Todd McFarlane mentioned how the toughest job was to get Superman right via Screen Rant. Superman is this classic Boy Scout, the perfect superhero. What do you have to modify to get a 20-year-old today who wasn't even born in the 1900s? They were born this century. That's it. If you can do that, then that big S in that word Superman is going to appeal to all of us that were born in the 1900s. That's it. That would be the goal I would give. I'd go, okay, James, now do that, and hope that they come back and give you some great ideas behind it. The recent Superman teaser has shown us that there is still plenty to explore with this picture-perfect hero. It begins with a bruised and bloodied Superman calling out for help, and we also see instances where he is hated by the people. There is still some complexity to explore in the character, without going the Zack Snyder way, but it is in danger of alienating a huge section of the audience who won't buy the cheesy hope philosophy. James Gunn is an amazing filmmaker. He single-handedly took a Marvel IP that had very little mainstream popularity and turned it into a juggernaut of a franchise with the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. With his unique vision that strangely blends emotion and dark humor, Gunn broke the MCU's own template and surprised them with a blockbuster. While the release of The Suicide Squad may not have been optimal, with the same-day streaming and theatrical release acting against its box office performance, the film took an IP that had a terrible image and filled it with so many Gunnanigans that it became an entirely new thing of its own. It also led to the spin-off Peacemaker series, which is a gift to humanity. The critical success of both these DC properties and his experience at Marvel got him the job of co-chief of DC Studios. But his choice to helm Superman, the film on the hero that started this whole superhero business and is as mainstream as it gets, is truly a ballsy move. And it also runs the risk of being his first huge fumble. The best part of Gunn's films and shows is how he looks at people who are on the fringes. Each one of the IPs mentioned above is about a ragtag team of misfits who join together to find a second family with each other as they go on missions and adventures. The storylines may be different, but at their core, it is all about accepting who you are despite the quirks. James Gunn. But Superman is not on the fringes. He is the superhero, the most powerful man in the world, and he can fly, shoot laser beams, have ice breath, have super